examples from mythology, how she initiates. So we're recording, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, something's happened. Is it me? I think it's me. Okay. It was news from Germany talking about, I think, Venezuela. Anyway, so what I wanted to talk to you about today is the my own experiences with the goddess, with the divine feminine, which is the soul, the heart, that missing, that sorely missing part of ourselves, the mystery, the spirit in our secular culture. I'll send a link to you, which you should be able to see on your Zoom, and I'll use that as a reference later. But first, I'll give you, I'll tell you a story of a dream that I had and how she initiated me into her mysteries. And this is just another dream because I've already told you of the other dreams of going into the cave. This is another way of how it happened. And it happened like this. In my dream, I'm standing together again with this female dressed in white, long, white flowing dress and with long flowing hair. And she says to me, come and I'll show you what you're looking for. So she's the guide and I follow. She took me by my hand and we are walking. Again, we're walking on a track, which is a narrow track somewhere in the wilderness. And I know that the track is not something that has been, someone else was walking on this track, but it is me who's been walking here so many different times before. I've made the trek together with her. She's the guide to this whole adventure. And so we've obviously been walking this way many times before, like I've told you in my dreams, walking into the most inward center. And what happened then, we arrive at this temple, I would say, really, really old temple, inside of which there's a big room and it's kind of dimly lit. Perhaps there were candles, but it seems like it was just lit from itself. And at the very center, at the very end of the set, a woman on a throne. And the throne was slightly raised, and she sat on the throne, and she wore a blue and gold outfit from her head all the way to her feet, and her arms, blue and gold. So you see, Julie, there's the blue, and that's the feminine color. It's the color of the intuition, of the water and sky. And gold is exactly the same color of the spirit. And on her head, she had a crown, but the crown wasn't gold. It was more like a crown, silver with a crescent moon on it. See? And I came, and I was asked to come before her. And when I stood before her, she said to me, kneel. So I kneeled in front of her. And in an instant, I knew that she is the Virgin Mary. She is the mother of all life. And she said to me, to come before me, you must come with a palm branch.
What kind of branch?
To come before me, you must come with a palm, as in tree, palm branch. And this mystery, this instruction of the mystery is well known in classic, for instance, mythology, where the initiate to come to the mysteries, they come with a palm branch in their hands. This is the pilgrimage to the very center, to the very source of all life. Now I'll tell you why a palm branch, because a palm is a symbol of the tree of life. And you're going there to get to that very source, to be in front of this divine feminine, this image of this soul of spirit that is hidden in all nature, this essence that supports and enlivens everything. The journey is a shamanic journey. You are climbing like the shaman up a tree of life. And you're doing it in a trance kind of state. And that was the trance kind of state is the guide that took me there by the hand, and that she is the intuition that takes me there. See, the visions, the dreams, the intuitive revelations. Because when I had the dream, I was incubating, and then I was intuitively working with mythological symbols. One symbol leads to another symbol, to another symbol. You're following this invisible trace. You know, it's the nose that knows. That's why often dogs are a symbol of this psychopomp that leads you to this most inward center. And you're following this trace, this invisible trace. You're intuitively following all the way back to its source, to where it comes from. And so she is the guide, she is the way, she is the ultimate revelation. So the woman that was sitting on the throne and the woman that led me there are exactly the same mystery. Now, why? So this is why you come there with a palm branch, because like shamans of old, you're climbing. You know, they would be getting themselves into a trance state, for instance, beating the drum. And then what happens is you come to this threshold, to this borderline before awake and sleeping, before this dimension of this visible world and this invisible dimension. So some of you might have experienced something like this when you're awaking, just awaking, but you're still asleep. You can hear the birds already chirping, or your alarm or something happening, on cars driving, but you're still involved in the dialogue of what's happening in the dream. You can still hear it, you can still see it. That very threshold is what gives us visions. This is what happens usually. That's the vision state. You have gone to that really the door, the mystic door between the two dimensions. And that's when it becomes really weird and unreal, because you're in a place where you can see around corners, you can fly, you can do whatever you like. You can be in all the places at once. But in this dimension, because everything that comes into this dimension is always just in space and time. That's the duality. You can't go beyond that. This is the physical reality. But the other, you can move into the past, you can go to the future, you can instantly just see what's going on behind the corner. You're not even going up to the corner. You're here, but you can see what's going on behind that corner. Or in an instant, you're here, but then you're there on the flower, then you're on the cloud, you're swimming in the sea. There is no restrictions. You're everything and everywhere. You can be like that. So that's the threshold. So when I made it all the way to this divine feminine, you see, you travel with the palm branch. You travel the mystic way, the intuitive way, on the tree of life. And the tree of life is that threshold that unites. That the roots are in the invisible dimension, the trunk is in this dimension of the earth, and the branches are the universe, the cosmos. And she was always, the goddess, the feminine was always visualized or symbolized in this way for many millennia. She would have had wings. That's the upper dimension. That's the universe, the sky. She would have had a lion, for instance. She would have stood on a lion. That's this earthly dimension. And she would have had, for instance, a serpent, a snake on her crown, and especially in the position of the third eye. That's the invisible dimension. That's what supports everything, the spirit. And why? Because a serpent comes up from under the ground and brings wisdom with it. Comes out like water. That's why wells and streams or things that are water that's coming out of the ground or coming out of a wall is always healing. There are healing places built around it, because it's the essence, the mystery that is coming out of the source out of which it comes and back to which it returns, the source of wisdom, the source of experience. So that's the reason for the tree, for the palm tree, of coming from the branches. Now I'll talk about a little bit about the color, the blue and gold. The blue is again color of water. So that's why the significance of her. as the source of all life, as water. Because water, especially like I said, when it comes out from under the ground or from a cleft in a rock, there was always healing places set up around it. And in fact, many of the churches, the Christian churches that are like, for instance, like Chartres in France, are built on the older temples where there was a well, was a natural well or a stream flowing from underground. And these were always places of pilgrimage to heal, like Lourdes in France, where people see visions of the Virgin Mary. So there she is as that healer, the water of life that heals. And what is water of life? Water of life is your intuitive awareness of just flowing in the moment. So that's why water is life, because you can have the sun, you can have as much light as you like. But if you don't have water, you're not going to have plants, you're not going to have animals, you're not going to have life. So that's why Earth is such a miracle in space, because we have water. Because life has come out of water. The original life has come out of the oceans, of billions and billions of years of rocking back and forth by the moon, the tides of the earth, which, by the way, are still reflected in women's cycles, natural moon cycles, which are connected to the moon cycles of ovulation and menstruation. This is something that the body, that we have experienced for billions of years as consciousness, still in the ocean, which was rocked back and forth by the moon and its tides. Women are still tied into this mystery. That's why it is a lunar mystery. She wore a crown with a crescent, a silver crescent, because she is the mystery and magic of the dark, of the night, of our dreams and visions and intuitions. Because the moon, unlike the sun, holds within it not just the light, but also dark. It's both spirit and matter, as she is. Because her message is that the divine God is not missing, is not separate, it's not somewhere else, and this is not a place of exile. Everything is already sacred. Everything is already divine. That blade of grass, my dogs that are sleeping, my palm tree that's growing over there, everything is a unique embodiment of this energy, of this spirit, including you. You too are exactly this, this unique embodiment of this mystery, of this universal mystery that wants to, it wants to experience itself in this creation. And once it does, it wants to come back to its source, to know where it came from. So that's the journey of for instance, my journey of going back to that source. The soul is returning to its ground of being, to the invisible source out of which it came. Or individual soul is returning to the greater soul. And that's oneness, experiencing our oneness. So that's her sitting on the throne, wearing the blue and the gold and the crown, and giving and instructions for her mysteries were to come before me. You come with a palm branch. That is to say, you come there intuitively climbing this coming to the threshold, the tree of life that exists in both dimensions, the visible and the invisible. It's a shamanic experience. See? She is the initiator to these mysteries, because like I will show you in mythology in a minute. Why? Because she is the mystery itself. It is the mystery revealing its own mystery through you. So this is important to understand. And this part, this divine feminine part, this direct experience of what we really are, is what's missing in our secular culture. And it's missing because of our three patriarchal religions: the Christian religion, the Judaic religion, and Islam, which have divided things with the imagined myth of God the Father, who's separate. And so we are here in exile, and we can do whatever we like with nature and so on, because we are on our way to a better place. So you can, you make it through life as easily as you want, and it doesn't matter what happens to earth or to matter, because it's not already spirit, it's not already divine. It doesn't matter what you do to matter, in other words. So we need a new story, which is really not a new story, but remembering the older story of the divine feminine, which still lives deep inside our soul, in our psyche, like in my dreams, and the many things that I've communicated to you in my own experiences. It still lives there as a unity of all life, like the experience you had, Julie, like as being everywhere. This is the intuitive unity of all life. That is the thing that it still lives within us. We are still plugged into this, but in our culture we have forgotten all about it, because even the science has become materialistic, in a sense that it insists that there is no spirit. There's nothing but dead matter. And universe, you're not the living universe already. The universe is just a chance, just happened. It happened once in a big bang, and it's coming along, and one day it will just big bang and will disappear. But the older mythology, the older story says that it's all cyclical, like monthly cyclical cycles of the moon. It comes, it's born, it lives, it dies, and it's regenerated, goes into the dark phase. The dark phase of the moon is the mystery, that divine feminine, which I made all the way to that temple where she sat on the throne. That's the dark mystery. And then she's reborn as a new moon, the crescent moon. That's the maiden. So the old moon is the crone, the new moon is the maiden, and the full moon is the mother. See, that's the three the three parts of the goddess. Anyway, so in this it is the divine feminine that shows us the mysteries herself, but we must pay attention. For me, for me personally, it's not that difficult, because I'm intuitive and I'm introverted. So, I've always looked inward. And if you look inward and you ask for something to see, you want to know deeper mysteries, you will be given that opportunity. Because remember, at the beginning of my dream, she says, I will show you what you're looking for. So I was already asking the questions. I wanted to know more. I wanted to go deeper. And that is so important to understand. We've lost that because we are told by our TV values all the time that what you see, what we give you, that's all that there is. But it's not. There is more, a lot more to see and experience, a lot more. But you gotta be wanting to. You gotta be open to be able to experience these things, go deeper, and want to know more. Then things will come. I'll give you another example of this. Is when I was in my early 20s and I just started asking these questions. And one night, in the middle of the night, which we usually wake up about 3 o'clock, if some of you have noticed, usually about 3 o'clock, that's significant as well. In one of these dreams, I wake up and there she is hovering above me. Again, this woman in white, her face is beaming, her big dark eyes looking at me, and she says, don't waste your energy and I will show you all you're looking for. See, there's another initiation into her mysteries. And what that means is don't run around projecting your energy here and there, but focus on me, focus inwards, and I will show you what you're looking for. Incubate, ask the question, and then incubate and stay with it until you get an answer. And I will be there to reveal this answer to you. And that's when all these mysteries were revealed to me. The mystery of the cave, which I've told you so many times about, drink the water. This mystery where you come with the palm branch, you have to incubate. You got to it's a shamanic experience, because the essence of the original energy of the religion of the goddess was not just knowing that everything is divine. This tree, this water, this bird, this wolf or that cat, but actually going on the shamanic quest to experience this, this mystery. So like Campbell later on, he mapped it out to us, but although he calls it the hero's quest, but it's an old original quest of call to adventure, questing inwards, initiation to what we really are, and then you return, come back to your community to tell the story. Now, many of us have quested and gone there, but we return to the community and the community is laughing at us because they don't understand. Or worse, you get stigmatized. Or if you go to a psychologist or psychiatrist, mainstream psychiatrist, he's going to look at your eyes like dinner plates and say, all right, well, I'll prescribe you a couple of sessions of Prozac. You'll be all right. But that's not it, It is still lives within us. It still lives deep within us soul, and that's the shamanic culture that we really need to come back to, and we need to revive. Is that so that our planet has a chance surviving? Because without it, we are destroying everything. Because it doesn't matter. Everything is dead. As the science puts it out, or our religions say. It doesn't matter what you do. You can do whatever you like because you're only here for a little bit. You're already going to a better place. So it's a complete rejection of our life here on earth. Complete rejection, especially with the body as well, in Christian tradition. Don't worry about the body, don't worry about its needs. And all you got to do is pray for an afterlife, a better afterlife. That's not true. The body is just as divine, because as we are finding out now in a science, especially in physics, in unified physics, that every little atom, every little proton in the atom is already, like Nassim Haramein has found recently, that the mass of energy in a single proton is equal to the mass of energy of the visible universe. The mass of energy in a single proton in an atom is equal to the mass of energy of the entire universe. There is oneness in every little proton of your body. Universe is holographic. You see, it repeats at every level. It's complete at every level. So even in your dreams, if you go that deep to that very center, there's a wholeness in there. So the image of the divine feminine and the goddess is the wholeness, because she is everything. It wasn't just that she was seen as a spiritual thing, but a spiritual figure. But back in the day, the original time of the goddess, 7,000 years ago or more, she was known to be everything, and she was, that's why they carried the little figurines. As a reminder that she is even in that figurine. Her power is in the blade of grass, in that water, in the butterfly, in that flower. She's not separate. She is, and she is you as well. So that's what we need to bring back, because the old myth, this what James Joyce called the nightmare, this 5,000 years of divisiveness, of dividing body from soul, matter from spirit, dividing men from women, because that old mythology, the religious mythology, the patriarchal mythology, is dividing men from women too. Because when it's saying through the myth of the fall, where Eve is blamed for eating of the apple, women are being blamed for us being exiled here to earth. That's why we still see this terrible misogyny everywhere, especially now in Africa. Like, I've made so many posts, what's happening in Sierra Leone, and there's this 5-year-old girl raped by a 20-year-old man, and that's okay. You know, they think that that's okay because woman is a lesser created creature. She's not equal to men. Man is always the superior creature created by God, and woman is just there as his, you know, bring new life and to as a sexual pleasure. That was her whole sort of role in society for the last, of at least in the three patriarchal religions, for the last 2,500 years at least. So that's why we need to talk about these things and bring back the deeper level of us soul, the deeper level of our psyche, that there is no split, and women are not worse of creatures than men, but in fact women are the embodiment of the divine feminine. Your instinct, the energy that lives in you, this feminine energy, is far stronger than it is in males. We're not the same, male and a female, women and men. You know, men don't have the same level of connection to this deeper dimension of life. That's why it is so essential that women also come and take part in our communities as leaders, as it's happening, as it's starting to happen now, especially in the US and other parts, like even in Middle East as well. Because women have realized that without them, without the centeredness, the connectedness, the intuitive connectedness to all nature that you really have, without this, we don't survive. And woman is, of course, she's also the archetype, the feminine is also archetype of relationship. So you are able to bring the different split parts together. That's the whole healing thing that we desperately need. The men are not like that at all. Men are very divisive. You know, we compete with each other. We actually take pleasure in destroying each other, as you can see in politics, for instance, or in science especially. You know, the scientists can't agree on climate change. It's not that if the proof is not there, it's just that one scientist is not going to agree, you know, one male scientist is not going to agree with another, because that would imply that you know, he can't dominate him. It's all about being, you know, the top dog. You know, they've got to be all alpha males. That's why we need women, because women are able to bring all these things together. Because women are also, you know, you're a mother. You brought life to this planet. So you hold the family together, and you know, for many millennia you hold the group, the whole village together. It was because life was centered in the feminine. So that's in yourselves, in the way you are born. But for males, it was always different. It was, you know, they needed to hunt, they needed to be the best, and they provide food for the village. But they also were protectors. So which means that they would fight with anything other than their own little tribe. So we have that in our DNA to this day. But of course, there are men that are far more sensitive, and the heart is open, and men are much more practical. So we still need men to be able to implement all these changes, all this coming back to the feminine, which women are learning now. But for instance, all the NGOs that I mentioned, like Change and Avaz and so on, these were implemented by men who have already opened their hearts to realize that they don't need to dominate nature, but that they are that nature. So that's a big difference. Okay, so I've given you a few examples of this journey to the feminine. A recovery of the oneness, because that's what it is the recovery of the oneness, the unity in eternity, of my own experiences. And I'll give you some other examples of how that reflects, and is exactly the same in our mythology. And mythology is our religion as such. It's our story that still lives deeply within our soul, within our psyche. Yeah. So you will see a link in your Zoom. So if you open up your chat in Zoom, there's a link. And if you click on that link, let me know when you're ready. You might want to turn on your microphone so I can hear if you found the link or not. What you will see is something entitled The Wedding of Peleus and Thetis. Thetis is the goddess, and she's initiating her husband Peleus into her mysteries. And it's a large black and white circle. Have you found it?
Mine's not activating. I'm clicking it, but it's not activating.
Have anybody else has problems?
They're all
Julie, Julie, have you found it?
Tell me where the link is one more time.
Okay, you have to go to see chat at the bottom of the Zoom. Click on that, and there will be a little white box to your right, and there will be a link from me to. It'll be a thinklink or something.com. Just click on the link. See if you can open it.
Yeah, I don't see the link. Just the chat has nothing in it for me.
Nothing. Okay, I'll send the link again. Laurie, did you find the link?
She's on mute, and so is Amy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't see the chat because at the top it doesn't show chat. It says participants. I'm not sure where the chat.
No. On the bottom on the very bottom, if you move your mouse over the Zoom page, at the bottom it would come up or highlight something, you know, that we mute video and so on. And then on the very right, the second to last links would say chat. If you click on that.
You see a little white box?
Okay, now it's coming up.
Yeah, you got it?
Yep.
Okay.
Well,
Got it?
yeah, I finally got it.
Okay. Amy?
Well, I've got the link, but I can't get it to open.
Have you tried the one that I just sent?
Yes,
Pamela?
yes,
And it doesn't open?
Wait.
I've got both of them. Is anyone else having problems getting it open?
No,
Me.
I see it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful.
Well, I want to see it.
Is that you, Amy?
That's me. Hey, Merrick.
How are you?
I'm good. Good to see you.
Good to hear you. I can't see you, but I hear you.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Where's this damn thing?
That's all right. Now, can you click on the link and see if it pops up? Pamela, you still having problems?
Yes.
Share content. Is that it?
Yeah, it'll be in the chat box, Zoom group chat box, and just click on the thingy, and there'll be a round plate. And
I'm on my. Can you access it from your iPhone by any chance?
Whoa, I don't know.
Oh, you're on your computer. That's I think
I'm
what
on
the
the-
issue is. Okay.
Okay.
Sorry.
There is a
Pamela, are you on an iPad as well? Are you? Or
No, I'm on my computer and it's showing the link, but I clicked on both of them and I can't get it.
Okay.
there's a chat on the phone too.
Oh, there
Okay,
is. Okay.
Pamela, now minimize your Zoom. Minimize it so you don't see it. You minimize that. Don't close it. Just minimize it.
I don't think I can do that.
No, you can. It's on the right side corner. There will be the,
I know
top
where it
right
is,
corner.
but I think as the moderator, I don't know that I can do that.
Okay. Now, do you have any browsers open? Can you see if there's a browser open?
No, it says you cannot minimize Zoom when you are recording this meeting.
Okay. Well, can you see there if there's a browser open at the bottom or top of your page?
No, just the Zoom.
Okay.
I think it's because I'm the moderator.
Oh, really? Well, I can't really bring the picture into the Zoom. I suppose I could somehow,
Well,
but I really have no idea
Just go ahead
how.
and talk about it.
Okay. All right. So what we're looking at here
Yes,
is
please.
the mystic union, and it is the female, the woman here called Thetis, and she is. This is actually often called as the wedding of the two, but it is a mystic union, a mystic wedding between the two, because what she's doing, she's initiating her husband into her mysteries. Now, what do we see here? There are snakes. There are 3 snakes, 3 serpents. Look at the bottom of the male of his foot, the one that is sticking out, and can you see a serpent is biting his ankle?
Yes.
Yeah, that means that is dropping of the ego. This is dropping of the veil, dropping of the body and its demands of everyday life. Your energy has turned inwards. That is to say, you have died before you died. This is the death to the outside, and you're turning inwards. Why is it biting your ankle? Because you don't walk as it were. You have to stand still, and you're looking inwards. The next bite comes to his ear. Can you see? He's biting his right ear.
Yes.
This is so you are able to hear the mystery of the universe, what she's going to be about. So what she's about to initiate into, so that your inner ears are open, and then finally, can you see where the third serpent is biting the third eye? This is the mystery that opens up to the vision, to the inner vision. And once this is opened, can you see what happens to his arms that are clasped together at the level of the heart?
Yes.
That's a spiral. That's the center. In other words, he's been initiated to the mystery, to a mystery of the heart, where the union, with this mystic union between male and female, visible and invisible, the outside and inside, spirit and matter, it's realized at the level of the heart. That is to say, it is your heart that communicates to it, and that heart is her, the initiator, the feminine mystery of the union. There's no split between the union between body and soul, between matter and spirit, between male and female, between anything. It is symbolized by this clasping of the hands, this spiral that runs right to the very center. It happens there. This is what I was experiencing, for instance, of walking into that temple where she sat, and she gave me the instructions of how to get there with the palm branch. This is the union of the two, the visible and the invisible, the mystery, which is her, and me as the ego returning, or the soul, my personal soul, returning to the source, the greater soul. And this is what the feminine does. She initiates the male. Without this, without activating of your heart, without activating of your intuition, without the death of the ego, the opening of the inner eye, and especially opening of the third eye, the mystic eye, you cannot realize this mystery, the feminine, divine feminine mystery of the clasping hands at the level of the heart, the union of the visible and the invisible, that soul and body, the spirit and matter are always one. That is to say, she's saying life or God is not separate, but it's immanent in all creation, and it's all me. And how can you see that she is the goddess? Because next to her right arm is a lion, and lion is a symbol of her power in this everyday life. While the serpent is the symbol of her power of the invisible dimension of life. That's why it is her serpent that is doing the transformation as such, the transformation of dropping of the ego, opening of the listening of the inner ear, and especially opening of the dimension of the third eye, the union of the opposites, the third eye. Your left eye, for instance, is just thinking. Your right eye will be the feeling, but the thing that bridges them together is the third, in the middle way, Buddha's middle way. That's your middle way. You're seeing visions through it, so that the two dimensions are not separate, but are in an instant you realize and experience them as seamlessly one. And that's the job of the feminine. So it's the job, really, women were in the old, even in ancient or classic Greece, where a woman was already terrible misogyny against women. But when she was a priestess, she was she was greatly, she was in the community. She was revered in the community. But it was, if you see the initiations in many of the mysteries, one day I might make a talk about the mysteries such as Eleusinian mysteries. It is always women that are taking the initiate into the mystery before the mystery and revealing the mystery. She usually comes with a little pail on the images. So this is the energy that she, this is the pail of the water of life, or sometimes honey, the energy. She represents this, and she takes the initiate into what he needs or she needs to be initiated into. So this is exactly what you're seeing here in this image. This is from classic Greece. I think it's from 450 BC. I can't remember the exact date. So this is called the mystic, often called the wedding of Peleus and Thetis. And Thetis was the goddess of wisdom, and she is initiating her husband into the mysteries, which women do to their husbands as well, because what you do, you bring the mystery of relationship through being a mother, or through being the feeling part of your husband, because the men usually don't have such a well-developed feeling or emotional part of themselves. It is the women that are teaching them to open their heart more, and that's feeling and emotions. So you initiate the male into her mysteries, and the mysteries, of course, through in everyday life, through living in partnership and love. It is the feeling. It is the initiation of feeling of oneness. That's compassion and empathy. So she brings the archetype of relationship. Women bring the archetype of relationship into a relationship with other male. That is, of course, if he's willing to learn. Many are not. Okay, so we'll go to the next one. There will be a few, so don't get frightened. I'll send you another link. This time we're going to the Odyssey. Some of you might be familiar with the Odyssey. Mm-hmm. And it was Odysseus who was initiated by a goddess Stars. So do you see the next link?
Oh, so how do you get out of this one to get to the next link?
Okay, just click on the link. Click on the new link.
I don't see it anywhere. I don't know how to get out of this one.
It might be behind your page. If you slide your browser over, you might see the other Zoom page.
I'm on an iPad. I don't have a...
Okay.
Okay, look, it doesn't matter. I'll tell the story. You don't need to see it, because what it is really just a story about goddess.
Yay!
You got it?
Well, I'm...
In Wikipedia. So you can read that story later anyway. I wanted to just, for people who wanted to have a read about the SARS, but it doesn't matter. I'll tell you the story of how she initiated Odysseus. And we're all probably familiar with the Odyssey. So
yeah.
Homer wrote two great big stories. First one was the Iliad, which is the war. The story of the war, and it's the war for Troy or Greeks against Troy because Paris stole Helen. Yeah, you remember that. And this is Odyssey, and Odysseus has already, the war has finished, and he's making his way home back to his wife, back to his feminine part. His wife. Penelope, and he has to go through all these trials along the way before he can make it, before he can reunite with his feminine half, his wife Penelope, because coming from war, they were savages, these men. They didn't care what they were, he was on his way back, and they stopped somewhere and they burned down the whole city, killed everyone, just plundered. So the way that Campbell interprets this myth, he said, well, gods can't put up with that, you can't be like this. You can't return to Penelope, to your feminine half, when you don't have, where there's no empathy, there's no feeling, there's no feminine in you whatsoever. You're only, brute, a male, a dominating male. You need to destroy everything. So, and it started by the whole story when Odysseus got lost along the way on his voyage back home, back to his wife, back to his home place, Ithaca, where he violated one of the sons of Neptune, and Neptune, of course, is god of water, but I won't go into that. So what happens is Odysseus and his crew have already made it past the threshold. They have gone out of the cave with the help, or with actually burning out the eye of the Cyclops. They've gone out through the single eye, if you like, out into this fantasy dimension when they start to meet such things as the lotus eaters and so on. And they finally made it to an isle of a goddess called Ceres. And here they spend a long time turning into pigs. But along the way, always Odysseus is helped by goddess Athena. So there's the feminine guiding the way all the time. And at times with Hermes. Hermes is that masculine, more practical way of helping. And he gave instructions to Odysseus how to not to be turned into a pig by Ceres. The way he does it is he can't show that he's afraid of her. So they can kind of reunite on the same footing, as it were, on the same level. Because the moment you show fear, you can't go any deeper. That's what I was saying before. You can't be afraid to sort of die before you die. You got to be able to drop the ego and go beyond the threshold. So that's what he did, Odysseus. He wasn't afraid of this mystery of the goddess, of the feminine mystery. And it is here when she starts to initiate him into these mysteries, the divine mysteries. And the way it happens is, his first task is to sail to the world of the dead, the underworld. And he's lamenting the whole quest, because he says, look, no one has ever sailed there. There are no directions. How will I find the way? And all that kind of crying. And the goddess simply says, Odysseus, don't worry about anything. Don't worry about this and don't worry about anything. Just board the boat, set up your sail, and the northern wind will wing you there, will take you there of itself. Can you see? If you let go and you don't fight the mystery, the spontaneous mystery of intuition, that's the wind. That's the boat. So it will take you there of itself, but you must be willing to play along. You must be willing to let go and just go with the flow. And that's exactly what he does. So he manages to go so they manage to find the underworld, the world of the dead. And the reason that he's sent there is to be able to find directions, as it were, for the rest of his journey from someone called Tiresias. And Tiresias was a blind seer. He was blind, and he saw visions and things within himself. So what Odysseus is initiated by Ceres, by the goddess here, is to the recovery of his own inner vision, of his own inner seer, without which he can't make it all the way to the recovery of his own feminine part, of his heart. So he makes it to the underworld. He gets the directions from Tiresias the seer, and he returns to the goddess. But the goddess has one more initiation for him to do. This time he is to sail to the Isle of the Sun, to the Isle of her father. Now, this is already a patriarchal myth in a sense that the highest divinity is the sun. This is a solar myth, and the spirit is masculine. But prior to, because Greeks were patriarchal, like I said, so this is a hybrid myth. The feminine is not seen as the highest, but the masculine is seen as the highest. So to this very center, this recovery of his own light of lights, if you like, Odysseus first had to recover his inner seer. And this is initiation by the goddess. So the second initiation by the same goddess is to recovery of his own divine part. And the way it happens is they sail on a boat, and they have to sail in between two rocks. On one side is I can't remember the name now, but it's feeling, let's say, and on the other side is the rational mind. So here you sail in between the opposites, and you can't let one or the other sway you. You have to sail in the middle. That's why he needed his inner seer to be able to sail true in the middle, in between the opposites, like Jason sailing between the clashing rocks to be able to recover the golden fleece. And the way that they did it in the Argo is they send out a dove, and that's a symbol of the inner seer. And the dove is the symbol of the goddess, of the feminine, of your intuition, which leads you so you don't crash to one side or the other by the opposites, but in the middle way, through your centered, to being centered on your inner vision of the third eye, the middle eye. So they make it through and into the into the island of the sun, and there Odysseus is initiated into the deepest mystery of being immortal, of being the sun of the light of light. And it is the feminine, you see, the goddess that initiates him to this. And it is through her help that he's able to make it all the way home and finally reunite with his wife, Penelope. That is to say, to be both living with, living like Campbell used to call it, a master of two worlds, where the feminine and the masculine are one, where your heart and your head, when neither one or the other takes, is stronger, but both are working together. So this is the reunion, the final reunion of the invisible and visible. So you live with one foot in this physical dimension, this visible dimension, everyday life dimension, and the other is firmly rooted in this invisible dimension, this one that you just recovered, the dimension of the soul. And it is the intuition, your middle way, that binds them always together. And the way you stay in touch is like I'm trying to communicate. You get creatively involved. You write mystic poetry, or you paint, or you draw, you dance, and then you use, when you have received, or you've seen the mythological symbols in what you have experienced, or even in your dreams, you go and process these through then looking up in indexes of the right books, so comparative mythology, for instance, Campbell's, and depth psychology of Anne Berings or Marie-Louise von Franz or C.G. Jung, so that the other dimension and its language, the language of the soul, the one that you've recovered, it doesn't get again overwhelmed by the head, by the rational, by the intellectual way of our life. So that both are united, and so that you can live. This is living in balance with nature, because what we're talking about, all these images of the goddess and the gold and the sea and the boat being blown by the wind, that are all images of nature. They are all images of divine nature, of the secret intelligence in nature, that it just spontaneously evolves out of itself, like a flower. That's what we are trying to recover, the spontaneity of living in balance with nature, because a flower you know, there's consciousness in there, and this consciousness comes from the soul, from this invisible dimension, and the flower doesn't have to Google or ask anyone what to do, like go to the priest or to religion and what do I do? No, it just knows exactly from itself. It doesn't go and ask the next door flower, so Fred, how do you bloom? It doesn't. It just knows. It feels it, you know. It feels it, intuitively knows, and this energy does what it needs to do.
Merrick,
And it
can
does
I
it
ask a question?
perfectly. Yeah.
Have you, are you aware of Emily Wilson's translation of the Odyssey that came out last year? It's actually,
No.
it's incredibly poetic. It's the first woman's translation of the Odyssey. It's something you might want to look into.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yes, because the Odyssey is believed to, you know, it's attributed to Homer, but many people believe that it wasn't written by a male, but actually was written by a woman.
Right. Robert Graves says that in The White Goddess.
Yeah.
But
Because
I
it
think
is.
it's so exciting and so poetic and so beautiful. I hope that you'll look into it. Emily Wilson.
Okay, I will look into it, because the way it's written, the Odyssey, and especially that it's got so many women mysteries in there, the mysteries of the body of the feminine, compared to what the Iliad is, that it's quite clear that it couldn't have been written by the same author.
Yes.
Because the two books couldn't be more different. One is the warrior culture, the masculine warrior culture. The other is the feminine mysteries, the revelation of mysteries, you know, which is entirely different mythology. It's a much older mythology.
I hope that she'll translate the Old Testament next.
Yeah. There is, there is a lot lost in translation.
Definitely.
So, yeah, when they were translating, when the males were later translating, you know, from Hebrew to Greek and whatnot, there's a lot lost in translation, and some of the terms, many of the terms are actually feminine, which they translated into masculine. So we are, you know, we lose a lot of the older feminine mythology because of translation as well.
Well, actually, it's a plurality. It's a he and she both together. That's what's missing.
Yeah. And there's another one that I've posted a link to, I can't remember who it was, but she's a scholar. She's a Hebrew scholar, and it's in one of the links that on art and Goddess in Art that I've posted in my group. And there she has reinterpreted the story of what was Abraham's wife's name? Does anybody remember?
Sarah.
Yes, the story of Sarah, that they were in fact the goddesses, that she wasn't barren, but the word, the Jewish word, or the older Jewish word for barren is actually childless, which means that she wasn't, you know, she wasn't barren as such, that they were priestesses of the temple, of feminine, you know, they were priestesses. And so it's a whole new interpretation. So that'd be interesting for anyone who's interested, that the old, what should we call, the Old Testament misses out so much on translation, that it's wrongly translated. It's been retranslated into masculine terms, which in fact are feminine. A lot of it is feminine, older mythology.
I think that the term virgin too is misunderstood. I don't think it means what it's been shown to mean. I think it means sovereign. I think
that's exactly right.
Sovereign.
It doesn't. Yeah, in the old language, it doesn't mean sexually inexperienced woman, but it means autonomous woman.
Exactly, sovereign.
Yeah, it means autonomous woman. That is to say, a woman who would have been in her own right. She made all the decisions.
Yes.
Not the decisions were made for her. That's what I mean by translation. There's so much missed in translation. So, you know, have a look at the, I'll bring the link up to the top of the page. I don't know if you are in my group, Laurie, but there's this scholar, she's talking about this. She has reinterpreted the Old Testament of Abraham's story of Sarah, and she is quite convinced that they were, in fact, priestesses. That's why she doesn't mean barren, but she's childless. She made the decision of not having kids. That's why she brought this servant woman, because Abraham wanted to have obviously sons, you know. And they all have sons, they never have daughters. It's a miracle.
You know, it's interesting. Clarissa Pinkola Estes asks the question, what is it that women want? And her answer is, they want to be sovereign.
Yeah, autonomous, exactly right. That's exactly right. And it comes out, it's coming out now. Yeah, I don't know if you can see what the movement on our whole planet now is, that women, even in Saudi Arabia and such oppressive states where they have the guardianship system, where a woman is simply treated like a minor. She makes no decisions whatsoever. That is changing because they've realized, especially through the internet, they've realized that there are autonomous and sovereign women living in our Western society. So they don't want to live like that anymore, the way that they've been told to live, the traditional way of being subordinate to the male guardians. They want to be free.
They wonder in those cultures why it is that they're, you know, not like doing well, but they repress 50% of their population. I mean, they don't look into that.
Yeah, and you know, it was the United Nations recently passed a law, or a resolution where they realized that if the 50% of our population here on Earth, which is feminine women, are not happy, that we're not going to survive, because it's they realized that for a long time, money that was sent to Africa, the aid was given to the male of the house. That was the tradition. Mm-hmm. And what happened there, he drank the money away.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Women didn't get anything, and kids especially didn't get anything. So what they realized now, that they are giving the money to women. They're giving money to women, and especially women that are creating these little communities, and which are taking care of the community. The money goes straight into the community, into the kids. In fact, some of the NGOs have helped to set up communities where men are not allowed.
Oh, I've read about those. That's amazing.
Yeah, men are not allowed. Only women, because men, because the money would simply just disappear. They would drink it all and whatnot. So that is actually, that's what I'm saying about these NGOs. There are hundreds of NGOs, and we don't hear about any of this in our community, on our media. So I'm trying to bring all this up. I think I've posted a few things in my group as well about that. And Anne Baring is talking about this as well, that there was a resolution some few years ago in the United Nations, that they've realized that they can't be helping the male population in these really deprived places like Africa, but they have to focus on women, because if they do the way that they've done it, nothing will ever change.
We have to get, my faith is no one's free until everyone's free, and I have 4 sons.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I saw you commenting that on one of my posts somewhere. That's exactly right, and that's what's happening. For instance, in Indonesia as well. There's a woman, I've posted a link to it, where the child marriages. She's putting an end to child marriages, and you see, it's happening from women, just ordinary people making changes. Because if you rely on the government and if you rely on the tradition, nothing will change, nothing whatsoever. Women have to come out of the shadow and take positions of authority in our community. Because without that, I am quite certain, I'll give you some dreams one day of what I've dreamt. I don't really like talking about them too much, of what we might face. So, yeah.
Well, it's a time of total darkness right now.
Yeah, but it's changing. In our media, we don't see the changes, but it's changing. Did you see my link of what I posted about the yellow vests in front?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And who's behind this revolution? Woman. She started the whole thing in October, more or less, and it just took off. Did you know that it was a woman?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, exactly. It was a woman. She got fed up. It was started off, when they started to have these taxes on petrol, on diesel. and no one was willing to speak up. And she made a video and she started criticizing the government and their own privileges and so on. That's how it all started. And now she's starting her own party. She's, you know, her whole political party to be able to include not just the wealthy and the ones, you know, the ones that are protected by the system, but the unprotected, the rest of the community. And that took a woman to do. It's not going to come from the males, I can tell you, because it's too much privilege to be lost.
I still feel like there's got to be a balance, and that somehow the whole feminist movement is something I never identified with. I never liked that whole idea because mostly they wanted to be like men. They wanted to
they take on the male aggressiveness and domination as well, which won't work. What we need is women that have the archetype of relationship activated, so they include everything.
Absolutely, yes,
So
yes.
they include, yeah. But I stress that it is women that need to be in positions of power, because a woman, even if she's taken on the male ethos of domination and her heart is hardened, but her heart it can never be completely hardened. She still retains the instinct. She still retains some of the you know, femininity and compassion and empathy, to be able, the ability to feel with other people, because because through her motherhood she has to have that.
Yeah, that's why it's so hard for me to understand women that want to be in combat, because the whole idea of women is to create life, not to destroy it.
Yeah, but you know, that's because that's how our culture, that's what our culture is communicating to us, to be able to individuate as such, to get yourself out of the how should we call it, to get yourself out of the tradition, to be your own self. Women feel that they need to, you know, there's a better position in the military, for instance, for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so on. But that they only see it as another job. They don't realize what they do, what they train to do often is to kill people.
Yeah.
They see it as a career opportunity.
It's completely antithetical to what a woman is, as far as I'm concerned. But whatever, that's my. Yeah. Anyway, thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome. So there you have it. I was gonna go and give you more examples of how the feminine initiates the masculine into the mysteries. Perhaps I'll go one more example. There is the story in Celtic tradition of a man called Oisin, and he was a bard, a poet. And the way he got initiated into the feminine mysteries was one day they were hunting. He was hunting with his friends, and he got separated. He was alone, you see. So he's separated from his everyday life. The ego has dropped, and in that moment he sees a beautiful. She's a woman coming towards him, but the woman wears the face of a pig. Pig is also a very ancient symbol of the goddess, and it's very important in the Elysian mysteries. But to cut the story short, she says to him, now she has been her face has been turned into a pig by magic, and the only way that she can return to her true self is if Oisin kisses her. The poet kisses her, and of course, he is reluctant and so on. And what kissing means the union of the opposites. The masculine and the feminine energies come together, your head and your heart, the visible and the invisible, or what the alchemists called seeing with the eyes, but understanding with your heart. When that comes together, that's when he kissed her, she finally dropped, the mask disappeared, and there she was, in her beautiful woman. She turned out that she was a princess, long flowing hair. And it was her that then took Oisin into her kingdom, initiated him into her mysteries. So there's another example of the feminine. And the feminine, again, you remember that the feminine and masculine, like I keep telling in my posts, that the feminine and the masculine is not gender specific. It is equally in men and women, because the feminine is your heart, the inner life, the mysteries, the visions, the intuitions, the dreams, the life of the soul, the invisible life of the soul. Whereas the masculine is the head, the rational, the visible, the materialistic science, the religions, all the things that are telling you what to do, because you don't have your own personal mystic experiences, which come from the heart, from the feminine dimension of the soul. And the soul is, the feminine is the relationship, whereas the masculine is the archetype of divisiveness. Why is it divisiveness? Because intellect divides. The moment it starts to analyze things, it starts to see, oh, it's this, but it's not that. Oh, it's this, oh, but it's not that. But intuition, the feminine, rises you above all these differences and has a higher vantage point of where you can see the whole thing, and you realize, no, everything is interconnected with everything else. There is no division. Everything is one. So in ancient India, this age of oneness used to be called intuition, the age of intuition. So there you have it. I was going to go into another little story, but I think that's enough. That's a lot of information, like I said to you, what's happening, how the feminine, how your visions, your intuition, especially your intuition, your dreams initiate you into its own deeper mystery of life. So if you want to, I can take a few questions if you like. Anyone want anything?
We haven't talked about this, but can you comment on the power of the voice?
Power of the voice.
When women speak, I think they carry a certain power.
It depends. If you are speaking from your own experiences, your own, either your own life experiences or your mystic experience of your dreams, the message will always be far more stronger. People resonate with that. But if you're talking about, if you're talking from what you have learned, you've collected facts, if you're talking about from your intellectual, the masculine side, from the head, it's difficult to relate the message, because you constantly struggle to give one example, another example, and people don't seem to connect with. They see what you're trying to say, but it doesn't seem to connect with them. So the voice, when it's spoken from your own experience, and the voice which is spoken from having learned something or being told, are usually very different. For instance, I remember Campbell saying something about when you're speaking from your experience or where you've learned. He says a man he's been playing baseball all his life from the age of 10, and now he's really great, and and he's given an interview. He doesn't ooh or ah, he doesn't kind of check himself, and doesn't look for validations from the other people. He tells you as it is. This is how it is. This is what I do. But a scholar, for instance, people who have learned things and continually write paper after paper, so that paper will be approved by his or her superiors or his contemporaries, the other scholars, will always give you this, maybe like this, and maybe then one example and then another example, and he's kind of looking for validation. Is this right? It's a totally different voice. It's a totally different voice. Is that what you meant, Pamela?
Well, kind of, sort of, but I think the vibration of the voice can make a difference.
Yeah, vibration of the voice. Well, if you're speaking confidently, your vibration is, you're speaking louder, you're speaking more, you know, the vibration is kind of higher. But if you're not confident about what you're saying, you just have this, you know, a collection of things that you've collected all your life, but you're not sure whether it is true. It is always going to sound a little bit more, what should we say? It's first of all, you're not going to be as loud as such. You're going to be muted. You're going to be kind of, you know, you're going to be hesitating. So that's the difference. You can see it, you know, you can see it with people that are giving an interview. For instance, an actor that has done her own thing for a lifetime. You know, she knows what she's doing. You're not gonna, you know, you're not gonna tell. She tells you exactly as it is, and it's confident and it's loud, and you know the body language. You can tell by the body language that she's you know, she's telling you. She's not telling you facts. She's telling you experiences. So the frequency, of course, it will be different. You know, it's more confident. It'll be louder. It'll be more to the point. And another thing that I've noticed, for instance, with myself is when I'm speaking from experience, I don't need to give you volumes of examples. I can tell you in a kind of short quick way, but a quick way, and it makes the same impact as writing a whole book. And that's what poetry really is when you open to this dimension, to this soul speaking through you, you can say the same thing in 2 lines of what I'm trying, for instance, with me, what I'm trying to say in pages and pages and pages when I'm working from the head. It's kind of this clarity comes through. Yeah, maybe.
Well, I think self-respect too makes a difference. When I'm feeling very strong in my self-respect, I command the people that I'm talking to, kind of, you know, there's a sense of they're paying attention. But if my self-respect is off, or I'm reflecting somebody else's lack of it, then people are very dismissive. A man will shake my hand and look the other way and be already moving off, or, you know, some sign like that I find incredibly annoying, and that's my cue. Even my dog responds better.
Yeah, but that self-respect comes from knowing what you know because you've experienced it. It doesn't come from something that, you know, you were taught at school or whatnot, but from your own respect of your own experiences. That's a big difference.
Well, do you think the vibration in your voice can have a healing effect?
Of course. If you're angry and you're yelling at someone, there's a totally different vibration to when you're calm and you're loving. Animals respond to that. You can tell straight away if, you know, if I'm angry or if something happens and I'm spitting out my words. Charlie, my little dog, he'll hide under the bed because he's frightened that you know, that he knows, he can feel it that I'm angry. But if I'm soft, I'm calm, and I don't spit out my words, but, you know, I'm loving towards him, he's all over me. Animals are so sensitive to these things. You can tell, you know, a hurt animal, you can tell straight away when they're frightened because they have always been dominated. They were constantly yelled at. And it's happened, and it's the same with people. People have never had love, have always been dominated, always told what to do, and so on. They always, the orders were barked and they had to stand to attention. You know, these people will always kind of cower. They're not sure. You can see with, like I said, with many people in the scientific community who are not sure of themselves because there's a huge hierarchy usually in these kind of intellectual communities, in these kind of, you know, scholarly community. There's the top dog and everybody else tries to be that top dog. And you know, and they're not quite sure. They're trying to, oh, am I, you know, if I'm going to write these theses, are they going to like me or not? And then the criticisms come because usually it is the males that are in these communities. And like I said, males don't kind of agree with other male because it implies that they're going to be dominated by him. It's a huge psychological problem. So, you know,
I have a question.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if I interrupted. I didn't mean to stop you.
Yeah, that's okay.
In mythology, there's all sorts of stories of jealousies of the goddesses. And I'm curious to have you, if you have something to say about jealousy.
In which mythologies? Which mythologies? Are we talking about Greek mythologies and so on?
Yes, but even so, not even mythology, but just the concept of jealousy, which is a shadow and it's a darkness, which I think many people experience and don't always, you know, acknowledge or recognize. But it's something very important, I think.
Yeah, jealousies. Yeah, of course. I mean, I experience the jealousy, for instance, in my work just on Facebook, because what I post a lot of times, there are people that how should we say it? They're not able to do the same thing, as it were, so they're jealous of my work. You can feel it.
Yes.
But yeah, but the jealousy, for instance, you got to remember that the later mythologies are hybrid mythologies. That is to say, the masculine, the solar, and the feminine, the lunar. And in these mythologies, the woman is always being put down already. The feminine is always being put down, and that comes down to misogyny later.
Oh, that's interesting.
So it is that because these myths were not written by women, they were written by men.
Yes.
So they're trying to portray the woman as a lesser creature, that she's jealous, that she's conniving, that she is this creature that is going to take you away from, especially in Christianity, for instance, or in Islam, that she's going to take you away from being a religious, spiritual, and devoting to God, that she's a sensuous creature, and she's going to seduce you with her body and so on. So all this is already woven into mythology, especially, like I said, Christian and Judaic mythology.
Well, what about the jealousy between women, though? Yeah,
the jealousy, like I said, the jealousy is there because, especially I've experienced this, especially, for instance, in professional situations.
I see. Yeah.
Yeah, where women are jealous of other women's success. She's not able to do what her friends that she's jealous of doing, so she's going to be behind the back, sort of a thing, and so that her success is not as she feels better about not being successful herself. That's usually what that comes from. So there's a lot of jealousy, of course, around. Like I said, there's jealousy because I'm posting the things and people like my post. So especially the goodness me, people share my work, and others can't because they still, like I'm trying to teach you have to write your own stuff, not just regurgitate other people's quotes. And that makes a big difference to you as well, because you are already creating, you're being creative, you're being, how should we say, you're being more loving to yourself as such. You're not just loving somebody else's work, but you're also loving your own. And many are not able of, we have been taught this creative part is missing in our culture so much, because our education is usually only focused on the linear, the intellectual, the left side of the brain. But it's completely lacking in the right side, the creative, the imaginative side of the brain. So if you have someone that is liked or loved by the community for their own, achievements, there will always be jealousy.
Yeah, I think I always thought that I feel somehow the jealousy comes from the frustration that you yourself knew that, but you didn't say it and you didn't express it. And that's where,
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's their own frustration of not being able to do what you do. And then the jealousy comes into it. But, like I teach, everyone can do what I do, for instance. They're not really difficult things at all. You don't have to copy me the way I do it, just in your own way. And I have already there are a few people that are already doing it. They're writing their own poetry, they're writing their own little posts, and they include their own little pictures that they find. And what you find, and what they have found, is that yes, initially you're not going to get as much love as you post somebody else's quotes, the famous gurus of scientists. but eventually people will start to resonate with your own work. And then comes this confidence in your own self, in your own being. Yeah. And then, of course, jealousies come because people, oh my gosh, you know, I wanted to be like this, but I can't, and so on. But you can. But that's, you know, you have to expect that if you are in any way a person in a community which is liked or loved, there will be jealousy.
Yeah, I just think is some of the part of the work that we need to do is to inspire people to have the confidence to be able to express what they know that they have, and somehow they don't have to, you know, like depend on. But anyway, thank you. The shadows always interest me, that what we don't talk about among us, that everybody feels in one way or another sometimes, is something very interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of instructions. I've put up a lot. Even today, I've put up instruction about how to do it, all these things. But you know, when the jealousy is so strong that you don't even want to take somebody's instructions to better yourself, to work on the shadow, then there's nothing really you can do, because some of these things are so ingrained that it takes years and years, if not lifetimes, to get over.
You know, one of the wonderful things I remember reading, and I have kept it as a sort of a motto, is that when you see something you love and that you appreciate and that you admire, you try to be as good as, and what you see something that's lesser, you have compassion for. So you have something to aim for and something to feel like a love of compassionate for something that's less, and rather than the jealousy or the judgment. So anyway, that helped me to make the distinctions.
Yes, yeah. Jealousy is a really hard thing, Laurie. I mean, everyone talks about it. I mean, I talk about it, and even Anne Baring, you know, she mentioned the jealousy of women towards women because, you know, I don't know, you're familiar with Anne Baring's work, but she's another.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, she's another spokesman for the divine feminine, and she travels all around the world now giving lectures.
I love her work.
Yeah, she's written books, and she talks about jealousy, that, you know, there are women that are jealous of her. And there's lots of this stuff. And especially the jealousy comes when the head has taken over the territory of the heart, and the heart doesn't know how to break out of this confinement. So you see, that's really where it comes from. And I wish I could do this. I know I can do this, but I can't, because I can't break away from the way I've been conditioned. My ego is so strong.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And so sad and so frustrating. I understand that, you know, on a compassionate level, I do understand it. But I don't know. I think it's something that it's good to recognize when it comes up.
Yeah. But oftentimes you can't help people like that. All you can do is like, you know, with my post, like for today I posted how to do this thing, not to read from book from cover to cover, but just, you know, intuitively jump from symbol to symbol, and that's how it opens your heart. That's what opens your heart. And then jealousy goes. And jealousy goes after that, because you have found something that is meaningful to you now, and you know, oh, I can do this as well. But alas, you know, people have the shadow, and then what you can do is, you know, is just simply give examples and encourage them. The rest is really up to them.
Well, I always just look into myself to see where I'm jealous and where I can't help anybody else, but I try to recognize it in myself, and that's why I brought it up.
Yeah. Jealousy is an important thing to talk about, because it frees up the subject so people can say, oh yeah, I've been jealous, and it goes flowing. We need discussion about this. And discussion, you see, is a feminine thing. It's a woman thing. Men won't talk about it because they're afraid of being seen as too emotional, too weak.
But so I think these things everybody feels in themselves. I only think about it when it comes up for myself, not trying to change someone else. But I don't like that when I feel it myself, and I do notice it. I notice that sometimes I won't comment on something someone said because I feel a little twinge of jealousy, so I just don't comment. But I notice.
That's a good way of doing it, because then it just validates your own jealousy. But after a while, that goes away.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you very much. I just wanted to bring it up because it's something I thought about.
Yeah, the shadow work is really difficult work. And Jung is really good at that shadow work. So that's why one of the reasons I also said read Jung. Okay, anybody else?
Merrick, I need to sign off, but I will message you. I'll Facebook message you and connect, okay?
Thanks, Julie. Yeah, we have to get together and talk about stuff.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate you.
Bye, Julie.
Good night, Julie.
Bye.
Mark, I want to talk to you about something after we end.
Okay. All right. So
I just want to say my grandson was born today. His name is Bodhi, and it comes from the Nordic origins, means messenger, and very close to the Sanskrit Bodhi, B-O-D-H-I. So I feel
Congratulations, first of all, Laurie. Congratulations on the birth of a new life in your family.
Yeah.
And the next thing is Bodhi tree. This is the very tree under which Buddha attained his enlightenment. A very, very auspicious name.
Yes, I think so. I'm very excited. Thank you.
And my grandson is named Bodhi also.
Oh, there you go. 2 Bodhis.
I don't have any Bodhis. I'm feeling unfortunate.
No, you already have a Bodhi in your heart. You got to look into your heart, Laurie. That's the Bodhi.
I love it.
Should I say Amy?
That's all good. Thank you.
Thank you. All right.
All right, I'll sign out. Have a great night, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. See you next time. See ya.
Okay, bye.
Thank you, Merrick.
Thanks, Laurie.
Bye.
See ya.
Okay, I wanted to talk to you about the book.
Yeah.
Do you have a timeline that you need to have this edited?
No, like I said to you, no, not at all. You know, I've been using the software, the free software.
Right.
So I'm kind of on page, where am I? On page 59, and I know that it's you know, it needs work, a lot of work, but the message, the structure, the background is all there. It just needs to be, you know, cleaned up.
Well, you know, I was wondering if you were using the software.
What you got, the copy you got is before the software, so there's lots of grammar errors in there, I'm sure.
Well, should you give me the one that has the grammar errors taken care of?
Okay, so do you think that the one I've sent you is simply too much work?
Well, if the software will take care of a lot of it.
Yeah.
You know.
What I'll do is I'll send you the one that I've already done, and I'll give you the page number where I finished. So if I don't, you know, I finished at 59 yesterday. So today I'll do a little few more. So, you know, up to 59 is what I've done with the software, and the rest you can just, you know, you'll probably pick up a few other bits and pieces along the way. Just mark them. And
you know, I only sent you a little bit, but did it match what the software did?
I haven't looked at it yet. I haven't compared the two.
Well, you know, I guess, and did you mind me making comments about to expand on this or leave out that?
No. You can make the comments as you like, and you know, I will change it or I won't, because it depends on how it flows in the story.
Right.
You know, I need to expand on a few things, explain things deeper in certain things, because I know what I wanted to say, but the people who are reading might not be clear enough. So
well, as I was reading it, that's what I thought. You know, if I'm not getting something, then that I should tell you, because, you know, I feel like I'm kind of in tune with your work, but if I'm not getting quite the message, then other people won't either. Yeah.
So just point out to me that this could be explained deeper, more details, you know, what you're trying to say here.
Well, do you think the software is doing a good job of the editing?
The software will only pick up on grammar, my comma, my full stop, you know, It will only pick up on things like that, my misspelled words and so on. But it's not going to pick up whether it makes sense or not what I'm trying to say.
Well, so do you want me to read it for content instead of grammar?
No, I need you to read it for both, because the software grammar is not going to pick up everything. You know what I mean? I think you do, like the last job you did with my book, Mystic Soul, the collection of poetry. That was that was better than the software.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing, you mentioned both of them are called Mystic Soul.
Yeah, I will change that. That's just temporary stuff.
Okay. So really, I should keep doing what I'm doing.
Yeah, just keep doing what you're doing. I'll send you the latest edited stuff, and what you need to do then is just look at the grammar, and then if you can't understand what I'm trying to say, just make a comment, explain this more, or something like that. Because I know what I'm saying. I'm just trying to say it in as little words as possible, I think.
Right. Well, did you like the format of the Google Doc?
Yeah, that's fine. And in fact, in the Google Docs, I found a few spelling errors that I didn't pick up even in my software. So that works as well. That works well too, because it picks up even more grammar errors.
Okay. Well, I haven't been able to work on it for about 3 days.
That's all right.
The tension was today,
Yeah.
because I wasn't going anywhere except, here tonight. But no. Being with my grandson last night, Bodie, oh my
Yeah.
God, he's 4.
Yeah.
He is a character. He is a total character.
Well, at that age, they usually are.
Well, he's an old soul. And I'll tell you a funny story. When he was 3, and a few months ago, I was over there, and it was one of the granddaughter's 5th birthday. And he has some autistic problems. He can't stand too much noise, loud noises, and some things bother him. So they don't give him sugar. Well, it was the birthday cake. So his 2 sisters and he's the youngest, they were sitting on the stool, and the mother was cutting the birthday cake. And so he's watching everything that's being done, and he gets the smallest piece, and he yells out, "Fuck!" And
really?
Everybody went silent, and her father was sitting there. I was sitting there. My son was sitting there, and we're trying not to laugh because he used it perfectly. And we didn't say anything, but he turned around and he looked at us. And so his mother said, your dad's going to take you back to your bedroom and have a talk. So they go back. And I turned to, his other grandfather, and I said, well, at least he knew how to use it. So he comes back and he apologizes for cursing. And he comes over and sits by me. And I had asked for just a small piece of cake because I didn't know if I'd like it. So I got up and got another piece of cake. And he looked at me and he said, when I grow up, can I have more cake? But
Pamela, when they're about 4 years old, they don't really know what they are doing, whether they're doing wrong or right. The word, he would have heard the word somewhere, and he saw that when the word was said, there was a reaction. He was looking for a reaction. So to make him go with his father, because obviously he's closer to his mother, that would have been quite traumatic, because obviously they would have had a men's talk, this men's talk. So does he actually know what he's done wrong?
I think he did.
Yeah, well, I doubt it very much, but
I don't know.
that's what they do. That's what they do. He's obviously heard the word, and he knows that when he says the word, he saw that when someone says that word, they get a reaction. So he was looking to have, attention placed on him. And so it was. Everyone looked at him, obviously. So
No, he had his back to us,
okay.
but nobody criticized him. His mother's, very politely said, you don't say that. And even last night something came up, and it wasn't even a curse word. And one of the other children said, "You're not to use curse words." And the 8-year-old said, "But adults can use them. It's okay."
Yeah, that's it.
But anyway,
They have it. Kids are, kids are little people that, they don't really grow up until they reach about 20 and become sort of self-reliant. And then they don't really mature until they get out of society and, live according to their own dictates of the heart. That's maturity.
well,
It's a long, long process. So you've got a long way to go.
when I made the comment about you being punished by your father,
Yeah.
that I thought you should leave it out.
Yeah.
What was your reaction to that?
I put it in there. I thought about it. I put it in there as an example of how we actually beat into us this bad education, because the education is completely of the left side of the brain, does not include any of the right side of the brain. But my father never enjoyed what he was doing. It was just simply a reaction, it was a pressure put on him by my mom, really. He never wanted to do it. And it was never so terrible. I mean, he like I said, he didn't enjoy it. So he was, he did it as quickly as he could. And that was it. It was done. And I knew, all right, I rubbed my butt and that was it. I ran out and did my own stuff. I was always my own kid. Always my own kid. I always run away. I always spend my time in my grandma's place, where I grew up, because there I could do whatever I like. And I stayed that way to now. And that's what I write up. The whole book is really about this. Don't worry about what anyone says. Don't worry about this and the other. Follow your own intuition. Follow your own inner voice. And then you'll get to where I've gotten to this realization of our unity of all life. So, the demonstration with the belt is that we are beating into our kids this really bad education that doesn't really do anything for their soul.
Well, I think you should say that, and not, it didn't come across. I mean, I think you should say your father didn't enjoy doing it. And I didn't get the message that he was doing it because you had bad grades or, whatever. I didn't really get the message why he was doing it.
Yeah, I wrote that it was because he was I failed at school, and that translated into men's talk.
Well, I remember that part, but
yeah.
Well,
so that was the whole point. All right. I'll look into it, Pamela. So the book is a challenge. It's a long book.
Okay. Well, I just don't want to feel any pressure to do it, and
no, don't feel any pressure.
If you feel like someone else can do a better job on it, then
if I find someone that it's someone that wants to be helpful with it as well, then we'll see what happens then. But for now, I'm got the software, and I'll send you what I've got done with the software and a few other bits and pieces that I've changed to it. Make it clearer, and see what you think.
Okay, I can do it if you just don't put pressure on me.
No, have I put pressure on you?
No, but I'm just I'm putting pressure on myself. I feel guilty. Oh, I didn't do it today.
No. It's not. There's no timeline. If it comes out this year, that's great. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. I mean, you know, it's not like we are. I'm not like I'm writing a bestseller. This is gonna be only a few people will read because it's way, you know, it's already way too deep for most. You know, it's not the Da Vinci Code. Yeah.
Well, the other thing about your work, so you don't know if it's going to be fairly steady or not, or
the part-time job.
yes.
You see, I've worked one day last week and nothing this week. Maybe I'll have a day or two next week. So it's all right that it's that way too, because I need to focus on this work more. Things that are, you know, the writing of the book, the posting on Facebook, the talks that I give. This is what I got to really focus on. The other stuff is I need to have a little bit of an income because Charlie I need to buy a few things now, you know, and Charlie needs to go to a vet. He's getting older, needs a haircut. All these things are expensive here, like very expensive. And I don't have an income. So I need to have at least, you know, a little bit so that I don't need to worry about that, and I can focus on my work here with my community and the spiritual work.
Well, do you still want to keep it like Sunday and Wednesday?
Yeah. So next time it'll be on a Sunday, which falls on my Monday.
Which it's the 24th.
Yeah. If anything happens and I need to change, then I'll let you know.
Well, one of the reasons I was asking when I started thinking today of whether you were going to be able to make it or not, and that I would be on in case people got on, because, several people that RSVP'd obviously are not on, and then other people, didn't RSVP, but whether I should activate, it is easier to do classes on Zoom than to have people come to my house.
Yeah.
So I don't want them to conflict with your classes. And
well, you can have your classes on Zoom as well. Why can't you?
I know, but a lot of it would be additional, some other people that I haven't invited that I don't think are ready for this. So it would be some of the same people and some different people, but I don't want it to conflict with yours.
No, well, we wouldn't be conflicting. It would be different time, different people. Why would it be conflicting with no work?
Well, I'm thinking, people only have limited time.
Oh, I see. Well, then you're just going to have to find a date or a time during the week where they all come. And, so.
Well, I was even thinking maybe I just do it once a month. I'm not sure. Because, I haven't gotten the group back over here since, well, I had a class for Josh, but for my group, I haven't gotten them over here since before my surgery in August.
Yeah. Look, we can do my classes, we can do once a month because we're doing it fortnightly. And, this people don't need to hear all this stuff fortnightly. Once a month is probably enough for what I have to say because everyone's reading my things every day anyway. Do you know what I mean? So I think that might be an idea. Just do it monthly. We get together monthly. What do you think?
Well, if you want to think about it, I mean.
Yeah, I'll think about it and I'll let you know.
Okay. Yurick sent me a message today and apologized he couldn't be here. He had a conflict. Okay. But I don't know what happened to Catherine or Cynthia or Des. I've seen Des pop up here on Facebook.
Oh. Yeah. All right. Well, never mind. You see, I mean, there are people that are coming to see me once a month or less anyway. not everyone comes regularly. Some people come regularly. But, you know, it's going to, if I keep going every fortnight, it'll be less and less regular because they don't need to really hear what I have to say every fortnight. They can hear because I post every day. There are lots of things that I do anyway. So, you know, once a month, I think it's probably enough.
Okay. Well,
So we can sort of, you know, think about this once a month, and then I'll let you know. Then I'll pick a date which will be suitable for once a month, and then just focus on the book as well. And that's it for now. From
I'll let you pick a date first, and then
right.
I'll pick mine,
Right.
and send it out.
All right, sounds like a plan.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, Pamela. Thank you for helping me with the book because I do need someone to help me with it. I can do everything, but not everything. Do you know what I mean?
I know.
Yeah.
You
And
think
it's a
I'm
difficult
doing too much, huh?
because you're spreading yourself so thin. You know, you want to be everywhere to be for, you know, be there for everybody, which I can understand. That's what women usually do. But you also got to look after yourself as well. So you don't get worn out.
Well, one of the reasons I brought up the voice is I've had maybe 5 people tell me recently that when I talk to them, they feel better after hearing my voice.
Yeah.
Have you had that experience?
Because your voice is low and calm. It's calming. It has to be low and calm. It's calming. And it comes from a woman. It's feminine. So that's what's healing. So just keep going what you're doing, but, you know, slowly and calmly when you talk to them. It has to come as compassion, you know, compassion and empathy. You feeling with the other person. That's what's healing.
Well, they've opened their heart up. I've been surprised.
That's what we need in this world. We don't have love. We need love. Loving each other, not competing and dominating with each other. That's why all these terrible problems and people are dominating this and the other because they want to feel better about what they've done, and they start killing all the animals unnecessarily and all this stuff. There's no love. You've never experienced love. To be able, once you experience love, you cannot behave that way. That's just cruel, calculating domination, you know. So it's so important. Women work is so important because they speak so calmly often. So, you know, in a calm, cool voice, and it's loving. And people feel it, and that's what's healing.
Well, I guess I would call them Asian men. They're two from Sri Lanka, one a doctor from India that I've been talking to, and my friend Vilja, who lives in Berlin, that we've been friends for 3 or 4 years now, and she worked in Sri Lanka, and you know the arranged marriages over there.
Yeah, it's a problem.
India,
not just Sri Lanka. It's in India, in many, like I said, you know, in many Asian countries, in Indonesia, that's too, arranged marriages.
Well, you can see, you know, these men know what's coming for them, and they can't go against their mother.
Yeah.
And
tradition. They can't go against tradition.
Sorry?
They can't go against tradition.
Right. And, you know, I think it's really fucking them up.
Yeah, of course. Because now they have access to the internet and they see that the Western culture, the secular culture, is not like that at all. People have freedom. That's why they turn to the Western culture. You know, they're looking for a way out of their own restrictive traditions. They turn because of the internet. They see all these things. And they want to live like this. I have lots of women, especially from India, that are like that. They, you know, went against tradition And they actually moved out. They live somewhere else now. I think one in England. They left that tradition because they couldn't be themselves. They were forced into it. It's a terrible. India is the where the goddess is supposed to be still alive. That's why the cows are roaming through the streets, the feminine. But the tradition is very patriarchal. It's very masculine. So
Well,
it's really destroying their lives in many ways.
I had a long talk with Vilya yesterday, and because I know I don't know that much about the culture, and she's lived in India and she's lived in Sri Lanka, and I can help these men so far, but the culture is so different that I don't really think I can. What I feel with them is the total sexual frustration.
Yeah.
And if something could change to, and I think I brought this up to you before, with the creative energy, instead of the sexual energy, to know about the creative energy.
That is very difficult, Pamela, because they will have to start getting really creative. Men cannot just idly sit around. He needs to work, physically work. That's when the energy, the life force, you take off the edge of it, as it were. Because when you have it at the edge, it turns into sexual energy and lust, and that's when they start to turn all sorts of really horrific crimes against women, rape and so on. They need to work. And when you're working physically, this energy, especially creatively and physically, this energy is used up. So that's a big, big thing. Because in these cultures, especially if they are still living in the countryside, most of the work is done by women. Even now, if you're living in the city, because women is a lesser creature than men, even in that culture, men don't have a sex life. They work and so they don't have a sex life. So it turns into a huge problem. But that's how that's because it's like I said many times, it's a tradition. It's a masculine tradition, male run tradition, where a woman is always seen as a lesser creature. So
Well,
big problem. That's why when the goddess culture was overrun by the warrior culture, and the warriors, the only relationship that they have to women was collecting women as prize, like they were collecting cattle, how many cattle they had and how many women. That's how they were seen as most powerful. After that, the relationship to the woman, the sexual relationship to the woman absolutely changed, and there wasn't any. That's why from then on we have wars, really, because sexual energy, which is not used, like I said, is not being used to create or to work, turns into aggression.
Well, the one particular man who's a doctor that lives in India, I think I told you, he writes. And I said for him to share some of his writing, and he's been doing, all three of them are Buddhist. And he's been doing this writing, and I had him send me some. Well, when he pulled out the folder to show me, he had sketched a lion on the front.
Yeah.
So with all of his writing, which is really deep, I was, he's doing everything that you tell us to do. He's doing it.
Yeah.
And he said about 10 years ago, he did share it with some people and with some of his buddies, and they kind of laughed at it. And I said, don't share it with them.
Yeah.
And
because in the masculine culture, a man is not supposed to show his softer side, his feminine side, his feelings. And that comes out, of course, in creativity, especially poetry and art. You're not supposed to be like that. You're supposed to be a warrior. No feeling. You're cool. You're detached. You don't care what happens. You have to do it. That's a big problem. Anyway, Pema, I got to run.
Okay. Thank you so much.
thank you so much again, and thank you for doing my book. That's really important for me.
Okay.
Thank you
Take
for
care.
that. See ya.
Don't work too hard. Bye.